this part of the discussion is about narratology, and also with reference to the different writers. Before this we have discussed with reference to this narratology. The very first person we discussed was Aristotle and his concept. Then there was Vladimir Prof. Then there is Gerald Janet, there is Theodor of Levi-Strauss, and here we are going to discuss Ronald Barthes. And whereas Ronald Barthes is concerned, he is about text, he says that a text can be open-ended or close-ended. Open-ended is that text of which we can have multiple interpretations, because an open-ended text is not going to tell us that these are the meanings of the text, this is the message of the text, this is the theme of the text, this ideology is being presented. It means that there are multiple voices, there are as many people, there are as many readers, they can draw meanings from that. So that is called an open-ended text. Whereas closed-ended text is concerned, closed-ended text is that text that itself is going to tell you clearly that these are the meanings which I have tried to tell you people. So these are two types of text which are told by this Ronald Barthes. And whereas this is a concept about narratology or narrative structures are concerned, he is also a structuralist, and he is very much famous with reference to these 5 codes which are called narrative codes. He says that these are the 5 codes, and in a piece of literature there can be any one of them, there can be any 2 of them, there can be any 3 of them, there can be any 4 of them, there can be any even all 5 of them, and there can be a piece of literature which is having 2 or 3 or 5 all of them, or single any one of them. But these are the 5 codes which are part of each and every narrative. And the very first point that is called action code. These are the 5 codes, Barthes' 5 narrative codes. Action code. Now what is action? Action means movement of a character from one position to other, from A to B, and it also means that total story is action. From start to end, that is an action, because no story moves ahead without an action, and action tells us that who are the characters and what are their social backgrounds, what do they want to say, what do they want to do, what are their resolutions, what are the problems they are facing, what are the dilemmas they are facing, and what are they going to do. It means that whenever a story starts, we come to know that these are the characters who have to move, who have to do something. So when story starts, they start to end, and end means resolution. And if we ask Todorov, he says that this is end mean that that's called equilibrium is going to be maintained. And if we ask Aristotle, he will say that denouement is going to be there. So from start to end, everything is an action. That is action mode. So there is no story in the world which is without an action. This is action code. The second code is called enigma code. The very word enigma tells us that it is something puzzling, confusing, disturbing, that when a story starts, we who are readers, we come to know that it can be a movie, it can be a drama, it can be a novel, it can be a short story, it can be anything. We come to know that there is a problem which is raised by this writer in this piece of literature, and that starts puzzling not only the readers but also to the characters who are involved in that story. And then this enigma code means that each and every story has this enigma code, means there is puzzling there is something puzzling there is something disturbing there are conflicts are there, disturbances are there. So whatever is the problem, it can be sociological problem, it can be ideological problem, it can be a problem with reference to economy, it can be a problem with reference to religious problem, it can be a moral problem, it can be economical problem. Problem means that there are countless problems in this world. So there can be any problem, and that problem becomes an enigma. Enigma means that it tells the reader that I am here, I am also not for you who is a reader, but I am also for this character also. This is called enigma code. And Barthes says that the most of the stories, they also have enigma code. Then there is symbolic code or connotation, means that there are usually additional meanings. Now there are 2 type meanings. Meanings are when they are direct meanings, and then there are meanings which are symbolically represented. And this symbolism is a thing which is perhaps a thing which is related to deconstruction, that sometimes a writer who is writing something is not intentionally giving so many symbols, but a reader can draw that this thing can be symbolic of that thing, this can be symbolic of that thing. So this is deconstruction of that symbolic system. So symbolic codes mean that connotations, additional meaning, that beside apparent meaning there there are going to be so many symbolic meanings. When writers come to know that they are living in a society in which there is oppression, so they are not in the position to say anything directly, then what do they? They resort in symbolism. They use symbolism. Different type of, each and every writer uses different symbols. They use according to their situation, according to their demands, according to the demands of time, according to demands of that era. So that's why. So this is the third code, and there are most of the stories, they have this symbolic level of meanings, and then there is a semantic code, and this is also related. Semantic is the study of meanings, and this is a denotation. Meaning, what are the meanings of these words, signifiers and signified, whether their relationship with arbitrary or not, and then there are binary positions are there. Through them we can understand. So semantic codes mean that there are also extra layers of meanings, because when language changes, meaning changes. When time and space changes, meaning changes, and different words are used for different situations. And whereas this concept of difference is concerned, so the reader says that these words, each and every word differs from the other words in its meanings. So when a word differs from the other words in its meaning, it means that there are going to be multiple layers of meaning. There are going to be countless meanings. Meanings are not static. Meanings are increasing. When words increases, meaning increases. So this is the semantic code, and every story is full of these words, phrases, and sentences. And then the last one is called a referential code. A referential code means that there can be references about scientific knowledge of that area, or about scientific knowledge of the previous any era. Then there can be historical references from about kings, about queens, about different type of entities which were existing in the past. Then there can also be some reference to cultural knowledge, and then we can understand meaning. So actually Bard was to say, not only Bards but all these people, and first of all Aristotle said that in order to understand meanings there must be proper beginning, middle, and then we can draw meaning. Then Prof says that in order that narratology involves certain types of characters, then it gives meanings, and Gerald Janet is there, 6 types of characters. Then total there is equilibrium is there. Equilibrium tells us what are the meanings. We can understand meanings through binary opposition with reference to Levi-Strauss. And Bard says that these are the 5 codes, and one of these codes can be a part of literature. And these codes, if you want to understand the meanings of a piece of literature, so try to know according to Ronald Bard any of these codes. If all the 5 codes are present, it means that it is going to make meaning easy for us. And if there are 1, 2, 3 or 4, and even a single one can be there, so you can understand, you can give meaning, you can mold the meanings of that. If we started with the action mode, the whole story, then there is enigma code, what's the problem, how it's solved, and then there is symbolic code, layers of meanings, and direct meanings and indirect meaning, then semantic code, word, their meanings, and then their referential code if there is any reference. So this is all about narratology with reference to all these critics and philosophers. Now the next most important thing is that what are the questions which are asked by these critics. So very first one is that they look at individual narratives seeking out recurrent structures which are found in all literatures. Individual literature, they are going to understand a drama, a novel, a short story. So they will, first of all, they will try to know that this is an individual narrative, but let us have a concentration upon recurrent structures which are part of each and every country of the world, which are a part of each and every narrative of the world. So there are different types of narrative which are which are the part and parcel of all the narratives, and then they try to apply it on that individual narrative. Then the second thing is that they concentrate more on teller and telling more than the content. Content means what are the meanings, message, ideology, what does it want to say, that's called content. And where there is a teller and the telling is concerned, teller means who is the storyteller who is going to narrate the story, and then telling how he is going to tell. Those scenes people most concentrate upon teller and the telling and not upon the content. Content is always there because teller and telling are leading towards content. Content is very important. Without content, this is nothing. But they don't concentrate too much on content. They mostly concentrate upon teller and the telling. Then the third thing is they take categories from the analysis of short stories and then apply them on novels. They take categories from the analysis of short stories. First of all, they, with reference to narratology, they analyze short stories, all those stories which are short stories. They come to know that we have analyzed it. Then after analyzing those stories, they apply that very frame to the long novels, and then they can understand the narratology of that piece of literature. Then the next thing is that they counteract the tendency of traditional criticism. Counteract, it means that it is something against traditional criticism. Why? To foreground character and motive by foregrounding instead action and structure. They foreground character and motive by foregrounding instead action and structure. So these are the things which they these are the four things. One is the character is there, motive is there, then action is there, and structure is there. So these narratologists, they mostly concentrate upon action and structures, and these characters and motives, they are usually secondary things, but they are also very important. Then the last thing is that they drive much of their reading pleasure from the affinities between narratives rather than from the uniqueness and originality of a small number of highly regarded examples. Mean that they drive much of their reading pleasure, they enjoy it for pleasure from the affinities between narratives, between all narratives. Mean that when they read a piece of literature in order to get pleasure, mean that they try to know the affinity, the relationship between all narratives rather than from the uniqueness, and they don't concentrate upon the uniqueness of only highly regarded examples. They come to know that all those concepts which are part and parcel of each and every narrative, all the narratives, they try to understand this. Now, whereas this all is concerned, and narratology is also a thing which tells us that what are the meanings of life, again what are the meanings of text, what is the meaning of society, what is the meaning of this culture, what is the meaning of human being, where we are to go, where we are moving. So narratology means that you are going to narrate something, and narrative means that when you are saying something, you are going to tell your ideologies. Political sayings, there are narratives. Then there are the social saying, there are narratives. When culture says something, that's also narratology. And then moral, ethical, religious, all those values, there are narratives. They can be written form as well as they can be in oral form. But all these things, critics differ about this concept, but these are all narratives. Narratives mean that these are the things which tell us life experiences, and it tells us how to live life, what are the meanings of life, where does life, the meanings of life. So this is narratology, and all about narratology, how it is a literary theory, how narratives are discussed, and how narratives tell us that what is life, how we are to move, and how we can understand this all life, and all the panorama of life, all the paraphernalia of this life. And actually it's not only that we are going to understand stories, rather we are to understand all the action. Suppose there is an action code. Action code means the whole life. We human beings will have to understand our whole life from start to the end, each and every person. This is called action code because we are part of this. So narratology tells us that we are involved, so we have to live this life, so we must understand the meanings of life. And then enigma code means that there are problems in this society, we are to solve them. If we are not going to solve them, it means that we are doing nothing. And then there is the symbolic code, means that there are additional meaning. Symbolic means that we use things symbolically, and when we use symbolically, it means that we are going to give additional meanings to life, we are going to understand the meanings of life. Then there are semantic codes, mean that different languages, when language changes, the understanding of things, ideology, that also changes. So we are also involved in this. And then referential code means that if we are living in this era, we will have to keep in mind the past history, all the inventions of the past, each and everything that was in the past, mean the religious things which were in the past, religious literature of the past, then all the literature that belongs to our ancestors, then if there was anything scientific, and how the people used to think, how the people used to behave, how the people used to act, and then through these references we can make new plans for us, and we can live our life in an authentic manner. So narratology tells us that make this life meaningful by taking help from past narratives and all those narratives which are part and parcel of all the humanity. So this is a concept that we can understand a piece of literature and even this life through narratology, and this will help us in understanding life.